Hello viewers, welcome to my channel, our English classroom, and I'm Pramod, and I'd like to welcome all of you to another new video. And in this channel, you will get several videos on grammatical topic as well as some vocabulary videos and also some spoken English materials. So let's get started. So in this video, I'm going to discuss about right forms of verb, and I have already uploaded 2 more videos on this topic, and I will upload some more videos as right form of verb is an extended topic of English grammar and it involves a lot of information. So if you are new to my channel, so please subscribe the channel so that you can get all the updates. So let's get started. Well, today I am going to discuss about one of the most important topic of English grammar, that is past perfect tense. Okay, so we know that past tense has 4 different categories: past indefinite, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. So this tense, past perfect tense, is actually dealing with 2 action that happened in the past, one after another. So if you want to create a sentence by using past perfect tense, keep in your mind that there must have to be 2 actions and there should have to be a sequential relationship with these 2 activities. It means you need to do one activity at the first and then the other activity will come at the second. So one activity will be done first and another activity will be done later, and you need to make a relationship by using some conjunctions, and the most commonly used conjunctions are before and after. So when you using the structure of before, it will look like this, like before will come at the middle point and there will be 2 clauses in 2 ends. But the fact is, as there are 2 clauses, there are 2 verbs also, and here we are using 2 tenses at a time in a single sentence. One will be past perfect tense, another will be past indefinite tense, and there you need to keep in your mind that the action that was done first, or that is more close to the past activity, that is past perfect tense, and the action that is done later which is more close to the present time, that will be past indefinite tense. So just keep this in your mind that there will be 2 activities and there should have to be some sequential relationship between these 2 activities. Okay, so take a look. So when you are using the structure of before, you need to use the past perfect tense of the verb for your first clause and the past indefinite tense of the verb for your second clause. And here I have used the symbol V3 and V2. Some of you are getting confused about what is V2 and what is V3. Let me make you clear that a verb has major 3 forms: present form, past form, and past participle form. So these major 3 forms are known as V1, V2, and V3. So V1 is the present form, V2 is the past form, V3 is the past participle form. So when we write a structure or when you memorize a structure, so you can remember like this: V3 means past participle form, V2 means past form. Okay, so let us take the example. The example says, I had breakfast before I started the journey. So there we can clearly see that there are two actions. So two actions belongs to one action is having breakfast and the other activity is starting the journey. So here the sentence is telling us that the subject first have breakfast and secondly he started the journey. So having breakfast should be in the past perfect tense. And now the question is, in your exam, if there is a blank in these two places, how can you recognize the tenses? So it's very simple. So when you are talking about the structure of before, the past perfect tense will come before, and when you are talking about and the past indefinite tense will come after the word before. So very simple. So past perfect tense, when we are using the conjunction before, it will sit in the first clause. And in this sentence there are two heads. There is also a reason of having two heads over here. That is, we can use the verb have to for like taking food or eating food. Okay, so that is the reason here the first had belongs to the auxiliary verb had and the second had is the past participle of have. So there are two heads. The reason is one had is the auxiliary verb and the other had is the main verb in its V3 form. And we all know that for taking food we can apply the verb have, has, had. So that's the reason there are two hads. So I had breakfast, and so first I had breakfast and then I started for the journey or started the journey. So two activities of past. First activity goes with past perfect tense and the later activity goes with the past infinite tense. Similarly, go for the second rule. This rule is just the opposite rule of the first one, where we have used the before and here we are using the conjunction after. So exactly the same rule, but it will be just the opposite. Here we are using the past form of the verb for the first clause and the past perfect tense for our second clause. But the meaning has not changed, because as the rule of before, we are writing the action that is close to past in the past perfect tense and the action that is close to present that will be in the past indefinite tense. So take a look at the example. He called me after I had reached home. He called me, here the verb is in the past form. After I had reached home, had plus reached, it is past perfect tense. So had plus V3 form. So here the conjunction after is telling us that I reached home first and then that person called me. So when you are using the structure of after, make sure that you are using past infinite tense at the beginning and the past perfect tense at the end. Okay, so just keep practicing with these structures and go for rule number 3. Well, rule 3, 4 and 5, all these 3 rules has one common idea, and that is these 3 rules actually deals with a negative sense or any negative meaning. So it happens that sometimes we need to deal with some past action where it needs to be in a negative sense. So you can apply no sooner, hardly, scarcely for creating such type of sentences. Well, just take a look of the structure. If you understand structure 3 or rule 3, because rule 3, 4 and 5 are quite identical, so you can remember all the other two rules also. So here, no sooner it is followed by auxiliary verb had, but still there is no subject. Why? The subject comes after the auxiliary verb had. So this method is commonly known as inversion. I will make a video on inversion, so if you keep watching my video, you'll definitely get the update on inversion. So inversion says that we usually follow the structure of inversion for making interrogative sentences, like where the auxiliary verbs comes at the first position, which is followed by the subject and the main verb, another object or extension part. But in some assertive sentences, we can also apply this method of inversion where auxiliary verb comes before your subject, and no sooner, scarcely and hardly, these three structures always follow this structure of inversion. Well, so our concern is what will be the verb pattern in this structure. So here, after the auxiliary verb had, your subject will appear and it will be followed by the past participle form of the verb. So just keep in your mind, after had, whenever you will write any main verb, that should be in V3 form or past participle form. And here you need another section where you will write your second clause, and this clause will take the verb in its past form. So take the example, no sooner had they entered the classroom than the teacher started the exam. So no sooner had entered, entered is the V3 form. The teacher started, started is the V2 form. So it's clear that we are using the V3 after the term no sooner had, and we are using the past form for our next clause. So now what does this mean actually? So it happens that sometimes you started an activity, but within a very short time you need to start another activity, or within a very short time another action started. So if you want to make a relationship of this type of short time period, you can use the structure of no sooner had. So there is a difference between before and after with no sooner had, that when you are using the structure of before and after, there might be a long time duration between these two activities. But when you are using the no sooner had structure, the time duration is very minimum. Okay? So the same structure will go for hardly and scarcely, and in English hardly, scarcely, these two adverbs tells us negative sense. So just take a look, hardly had plus subject plus V3, then when. So here our connecting word is when, but remember for no sooner we are using the connector then. So there's a difference. So make sure that you're using the proper connector. So subject, V2 and object, so the next clause will follow or will take the verb in past form. So take the example. Hardly had they started a new business when the government imposed some new regulation. Hardly had they started a new business. So it means that they just started. They started a new business and there is a very minimum duration of time difference, and just that moment or that just during that circumstance the government imposed some new regulation regarding business. So it happens, it's a natural thing that there might be several regulations like including tax paying regulations or some other rules and regulations. So it happens like a very common situation in our economical structure. So hardly had they started. So here the verb started is actually the V3 form of start, because started is followed by had. So after had the verb will obviously in the V3 form, and the second verb imposed, the government imposed. So imposed is the past form over here. So just very simple to remember that when you are dealing with a verb after had, it will be V3 form, and then the second clause will take the V2 or the past form. So it rarely happens that a past perfect tense is not followed by a past indefinite. It all the time it happens, or you can just keep in your mind forever that a past perfect tense must need to be followed by a past indefinite tense. Without a past indefinite, a past perfect can hardly make a sense. Okay? So go for the last structure. So scarcely and hardly both are identical, just two different words. Scarcely had plus subject plus V3, and the next clause will be past indefinite, and it is connected with when. So take the example. Scarcely had they reached the field when it started raining. So it means that they could not just reach the field, or it means that they just reached the field, and in that moment or on that moment it started raining. So there is a very little time duration between these two actions. So that is the reason we have applied scarcely. But though there is a little time duration, but here we can clearly see that one action happened after another action. So as one happened after another, so obviously we need past perfect as well as past indefinite tense. Okay, so now I would like to tell one more thing, that so if you are an SSC candidate, in SSC exam there is a topic called completing sentence. So if you learn these rules, you can easily create your sentence if the question setter provide such information where half part of each of these structures were given, and you need to just complete the remaining section. So if you learn the rules from right forms of verb, it will not just help you for right forms of verb, as well as it will help you to answer completing sentences. So be careful with the rules of right forms of verbs. It will help you in different situations. So I hope that this video helped you a lot. So keep watching my channel. I'll upload some more videos frequently on these topics. So till then, take care and goodbye.